Here, it became more persecuted.
But you also had Congo Square, but not a church.
No, well, in a way it was, but
no. But I'm
officially.
talking about
But
a Catholic
he was talking
city.
about Cat Ironwood, and I want to get to what you're saying is true. I'm talking about what she's saying, which isn't true. She's responsible for this whole idea. She was on my radio show once, and she,
really?
I said
that episode
years and years ago. Well, go find it.
I thought I heard all of them. Yeah,
I said something to the effect of, hoodoo and the saints here, and she started going on about hoodoo's only Protestant. Which, first of all, I don't think
that's bullshit.
Not true. But
number one, that's bullshit.
Hold on, I don't commit. So she said hoodoo's only Protestant. So then I sort of thought about it, and I said, wait a minute here. You're always saying that what happened in New Orleans was all hoodoo because of some 1929, I think it was, song by Jelly Roll Morton or something. She had some convoluted, ridiculous reason why it was all hoodoo here and that it's only white people that think it's voodoo here. Because she's looking at 1929 and not 1800s Marie Laveau period. So I thought about it and I said...
Does your child suffer from migraines? Seeing them deal with the pain and symptoms, how it can interrupt their school and activities, can be heart-wrenching. That's why Biohaven is conducting a new clinical trial to learn how a medicine that's already helping adults with migraine might help your child too. If your child is between the ages of 12 and 17 and has at least a 6-month history of migraine, they may qualify. To find out more, visit childmigraine.com.
Congrats on going to college. Now the fun begins with setting up your dorm. Make it yours. Bed Bath & Beyond makes it easy. Sign up now for our college savings pass. Get 20% off your entire purchase every time you shop through September 30th. Only at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Well, didn't you just say that hoodoo was all Protestant? And she goes, yeah. And I said, well, okay. The people that lived in the French Quarter in the Treme of 1800s, New Orleans, were all fucking Catholic. The Protestants didn't cross the neutral ground, which is that...
Catholic city.
Right,
Yeah.
they wouldn't cross Canal Street.
Hello.
There's a neutral ground. And that's where I got her. Now, of course, we know that hoodoo does have a Catholic component. But the point is, her argument is there was no religion here. It was all folk magic, and she's full of shit. There are court records, police records of Betsy Toledano and Marie Laveau in 1851 when they were arrested for having rituals, and Marie went the next day down to the police department to demand her statues, and she referred to them as the gods of the motherland. That is not just folk magic. There's religion. Now, we may not know what the whole scope of that religion was, but it wasn't just mixing bags and oil.
No, you're absolutely right.
She's wrong, and she's responsible for that.
And I agree with you. You're exactly right in that. Here's the thing with that, though.
Terrible scholars.
Here's the thing with that is that, like, you have on one end, what you're doing is, okay, first of all, let's not, like, mince words. Okay? Hoodoo or conjure and voodoo are cousins.
Of course.
They are related. Okay, so here's the thing. So some of the things that you do in hoodoo are actually done in the voodoo. Some of the things that are done in the voodoo are done in. But here's
It's hard to figure out why.
But here's the point in all of that. The point in all of that is that in this particular city, you cannot separate one without the other, because they were melded together, because not only of the Dahomey slaves, but you also have the Congo slaves that came in together, just as they did in Haiti.
But it's more
with
than
the Dahomey.
It's more than the slaves.
It's not.
It is.
That is
she
the
is
primary
no, but
influence.
I'm not talking about. There's another influence that is
Which
being
is what?
left out. And that is the oppression of the white people. In other words,
of course,
right? But that you can't, like, okay, it's often said, oh, the Americans came in and they made the Congo Square dances legal. The French didn't make it legal. In the French slavery, you could buy your way out of slavery, and that's why they had those dances at Congo Square. When the Americans took over, they put it into law, but people couldn't buy their way out of slavery. And all what they were doing by putting it into law was controlling and regulating it. And why this matters is the evolution of hoodoo in this city, I think, is pretty clear in the sense that over the period of the turn of the 20th century, as the religion became more restricted, it got watered down to magic. And then you found it in the pharmacy. So now you could go to the local pharmacy at the turn of the 20th century and get your different hoodoo oils. And so the reason, of course, there's overlap with the magic and the religion, but the reason, and this is the piece Kat misses, she thinks it was always just the folk magic. Wait, but that's not why. The reason it transitioned to folk magic was because that became more acceptable. It's sort of like the story of witchcraft in Europe. As the diabolism was persecuted, you could still practice certain forms of magic. The Catholic Church would sell indulgences. They would sell prayers. Magic did not get as persecuted as the diabolism of the supposed worship of the devil. You take that here to Louisiana and New Orleans. They began to oppress it. And it's why when Mother Leafy Anderson came here in the early 20th century and she wanted to sell all her gree-gree and this and that, they said, now that was being persecuted by the 1910s. First it was the religion, then it was the magic. So now they forced her to create the spiritual church movement. Mm-hmm. And so it's yes, the influence when you're talking about where the magic comes from, of course it's all these different slave tribes, but you cannot, where the white influence comes in is their oppression of the slaves forced them to syncretize with saints.
Of course it did.
It later forced them to get rid of the religion.
That's why the revolution took place.
Right, but that's where the overlap comes from. The transition into hoodoo and conjure is part of that is because they couldn't get away with the religion anymore. So now it just really went underground and it became workings. But of course they're related. I think hoodoo is the daughter of voodoo in many ways.
I would say that they're probably like good first cousins. I would say.
I don't know. Down in the south, that sounds kind of
I would say that they're good first.
She drives me crazy, and I've always said that. Because she's responsible for so much of... Carolyn
right.
Moore Long is the one that's done the best amount of research on that.
And I don't disagree with those two things coming together. But what I will say when it comes down to it at the end of the day, what it comes down to is that whether it be in Port-au-Prince, or whether it be in New Orleans, there was a river or a stream that enabled that magic to survive. I'm going to bat you in the head with a piece of chicken, I swear to God. Because of that.
I'm not debating you, I'm talking about her.
You're talking about fucking chicken breast. I'm
talking about that.
Or chicken leg.
She's on there bashing everybody.
Me.
First of all, one of the people she bashes is Priestess Miriam. And what a lot of people don't know, she's been here over 30 years, but she's not from here. So I had that awful Dark Lady of New Orleans, whatever his name is. Boba Fett or what? Boba Fett. Boba Fett. No, he tried to tell me that he said that Priestess Miriam was a cultural appropriator. I'm like, she's fucking black. How can she be culturally appropriating anything? So then, am I still there?
Oh yeah, I'm just checking.
Anyway, so
we're good.
What a lot of people don't understand, Priestess Miriam was ordained in the spiritual church movement in Chicago, which has direct ties to what was here. Yeah. So in that way, she has more of a...
Down here, you would call them the Black Hawk churches.
But she has a huge connection to the legacy of what happened here. A huge connection. So even though she isn't from here, she has more of a connection than Grubby Mary.
All right. We're gonna take a musical break, and I'm gonna come back. I got a white person question after this. All right, we'll be back.
I hate the song.
Widdershins. You guys talk for a second. I got to mix a drink for Hoodoo.
He plays too much music.
Too much. It's only for like the smoke breaks,
No.
or the bathroom breaks.
Howard
and
Stern
the
got better when he
stuff.
stopped playing music. I never played music. I don't want anything competing with what I have to say.
Love it. Our fans love that.
Merci,
We rock
mon
out.
chéri.
So let me ask this other question. See, I've been in Facebook jail. I've been reading all your stuff. Sometimes I can like people's posts. Sometimes I can't. I can laugh. I can't comment. In Facebook jail for another 2 days. But Christian and Brian been on this vendetta for the last several days about the term witchcraft and its ownership by the British traditional witches. And crediting Gardner, I give Gardner all the credit that's due, but
Don't put words in my mouth.
Okay, but I saw a couple things, and you correct me. I know you will, but
right.
giving Gardner the credit for this entire witchcraft thing, and my question is, what about Leland, Margaret Murray, Robert Graves? All of these things pinnacle to what Gardner put together, and they predate Gardner.
First off, you're incorrect, and that I did not say.
Okay, tell me what you said, because I
That,
haven't been able to comment.
When I have said the use of the word witch, and if you notice, if people have replied and they said, "It's not all Gardner," I've actually said, I don't claim to know what the Anglo-Saxons were practicing. What I do claim to know, however, is that the word wicca, which refers to a male witch, is spelled W-I-C-C-A, is often referred to incorrectly as Wicca. There was no religion of Wicca.
I've often said this. Gardner there was one C, and he was talking about like a race of people called the Wicca.
But that's not consistent, and
Yeah.
these people were not scholars.
Yeah.
Gardner was not an etymologist. Sanders was not an etymologist. To try to expect, Rhodes Scholar, Oxford level linguistic scholarship, like, one of our coven members, Levi Rowland, speaks 7 languages and is a master's of linguistics. When I want to know about a word, I'm not going to go look up what Gerald Gardner says. I'm going to ask Levi, who actually studied, language and linguistics. The word witcha meant male witch. The word witcha, witche, meant female witch. Now, you have to note the fact that Anglo-Saxon was a gendered language, much like the Romantic languages of French and Spanish and
Russian
Italian.
is gendered.
It was a gendered language. Modern English is not. When you take the and the a off of the words witcha and witche, which aren't really actually words, they're gender variants of the same word. When you translate witcha and witche into modern non-gendered English, you are left with the word witch. So Laurie Cabot's assertion for the last several decades that I always used to doubt her on, but she was right, the old word for witch was not Wicca, it was witch. This is a fact. Linguistically, they were the word witch. Now, I'm not and nowhere in anything I have posted. That's the one thing I'm sort of making sure I'm correcting you on. If you read what I wrote, because I'm very picky about what I say, how it's translated.
Wow.
Well, it's true. Nowhere did I say that I believe that what the Anglo-Saxons were doing was what initiatory witches today, which are sometimes referred to even by themselves as Wicca, which I don't use even as an initiate. I will never use because it's not accurate. You could tell me Gardner this and Sanders that.
Gardner never had a Wicca on a book cover.
Well, that's the other thing. None of them
always
used
going
it.
on that.
None of them used it.
Yeah.
None of them used it.
Yeah.
Stuart Farrar had a book called "What Witches Do." They had witchcraft today. They had witches.
I'm always having that argument.
Where did none of these people use the word Wicca? Where did this?
Yeah.
Charles Cardell, I believe, was one of the ones that popularized it. There were a few people, but and I think Sanders helped. These people were not scholars. They were not scholars. They were not scholars. Trying to rely on those people for the accurate linguistic pronunciation of words is probably not a smart thing to do. So what I'm saying in those posts is, while we don't know what the Anglo-Saxons called what they were referring to when they used the terms witch and witch beyond sorcery. We do know it had to do with sorcery. One of the etymological trails does go back to a Proto-Germanic root, which, by the way, the Germanics did use the K sound. And there was a word, Wikkjaz, I believe it's spelled. Right, but like Wikkjaz. And it meant necromancer, by the way, conjurer of the dead. So you know I love that, because I do, other than my initiatory work, I do work with the dead. But the word, you say Wikkjaz really fast, witches. Wasn't Wicca, it was witches. We're witches. And so even Wikkjaz, that, I'm sure there's witches. It sounds like witches. And the point is that while we don't, I'm not arguing that it became initiatory craft. I would argue that what we today call initiatory craft, I wouldn't include Leland because that was Italian, that's Strega. But
Leland influenced it.
Well, of course he influenced it, but I'm just saying, but he didn't claim to be a witch. Gardner was the first person to publicly come out and claim to be a witch. Murray didn't do that. Leland didn't do that. Graves didn't do that. That is a major differentiator. To come out and say, I knew a witch, to come out and say, I'm reading folk tales about witches and here's what I think about them, versus, hi, I'm a witch. There's a difference. But here's the thing. While we don't know what the Anglo-Saxons practiced, we do know that it was germane to their culture. And so Brian has his own views. Brian probably does believe, even more than I do, that Gardner found something. I believe that Gardner did find something. Do I think he didn't add to it? Well, of course not. He added a lot to it. So did Dorian Valiente, so did Sanders. All these people added to the
He clearly borrowed from Crowley as well.
And they borrowed from Leland, but there was a strong British element to it as well. But where I sort of get, a little snitty, I used to use the word witch as an umbrella word. I no longer do because it stopped making sense to me. Here's the thing. If witch is an umbrella word, number one. If literally witch is just a direct translation to all these other words, brujeria, curanderismo, strega in Italy. If witch is a direct translation to all these words, and I'm an initiated witch, how many initiated curandero, brujeria, and strega do you think would accept me as an initiated curandero, brujeria, and strega? They wouldn't, because I'm not. Because they're not exactly the same. And so you could argue, well, witch is the umbrella word, and strega, curanderismo, and brujeria are, variations of witchcraft. Well, okay, let's go down that rosy path for just a moment. Well, wait. What? I want to finish this thought.
Finish your thought, and I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, if brujeria, curanderismo, and strega are all aspects of witchcraft, then what is the British aspect of witchcraft called? See what I'm saying? It's witchcraft. In other words, witchcraft is witchcraft. We don't know what it was. Then again, we don't fully know what strega was. Come on, Gramassi made up half that shit, and he probably pulled it out of Stephanie's hair. So the fact is, come on, if she shook her head, Natalie Holloway would fall out. Oh no, that's Judica. But anyway, I'm being nice. No, I'm not. I hate it. Judica. Anyway.
Just finish your thought.
The thing is, Judicant. The thing is, I'm not going to tell a curanderismo they can't call themselves a witch. Why? Because some white person hundreds of years ago pointed a gun at them and said, stop practicing witchcraft. Well, they weren't practicing witchcraft. They were practicing their own thing. But they were being persecuted under the word witch by these crazy white Christians. So if they started calling it witchcraft in their family, who am I to say they can't? Obviously, words evolve and change. But when I'm talking about witchcraft from a research perspective and going back into time and trying to see what the legacy of witches were, it is European. And no, not in some also true racist sense, because I would never say that, I don't see witchcraft as ethnic based. Star Ravenhawk is a black woman in New York City who's one of the badass witches, most badass witches I've ever met. But the point is, the roots of witchcraft come from a certain place. Some of them are Egyptian. there is a trail that led to that word, is what I'm saying. Just as there's a trail to lead to the use of that word in Mexico, because some white person pointed a gun at your head and said, stop practicing witchcraft. And that's what I'm trying to get to. Now, do I think that initiation has a role? I will make that statement strongly. I was a witch for 32 years before I was, 30 years before I was initiated. I don't believe now that I'm an initiate, like some initiates believe. I don't believe I wasn't a witch before. I was a witch before. But I will say, I think that initiation is the deepest level of witchcraft.
I got one thing before you jump in. So you hit on something really important that I always like to try and point out. The initiation process that's in British traditional witchcraft and all, white people witchcraft is Egyptian-based. The idea of a symbolic death and rebirth is an Egyptian idea.
Congrats on going to college. Now the fun begins with setting up your dorm. Make it yours. Bed Bath & Beyond makes it easy. Sign up now for our college savings pass. Get 20% off your entire purchase every time you shop through September 30th. Only at Bed Bath & Beyond.
At JCPenney's Memorial Day sale, sizzling deals are on, with store-wide doorbusters all weekend. Or bring home savings up to 50% during our Memorial Day home sale. Save even more with your coupon. And for all former and active military personnel, enjoy an extra 10% off in-store. Just show a valid military or VA ID at checkout. Shopping is back. JCPenney. Coupon valid on select styles through 5/30. Some exclusions apply. Doorbusters valid 5/26 through 5/30 and excluded from coupons. See store or jcp.com for details.
No, they don't own.
They were the first to have it.
No, there were absolutely examples of this in Ireland. Newgrange.
Ireland before Egypt, though?
Ireland, when's
We
Newgrange?
had no written record of Ireland.
Isn't Newgrange like thousands of years? When is Newgrange to? But I'm just saying, Newgrange wasn't a product of Egypt. The idea of death and rebirth, that was in China, that was in cultures all over the world. I don't think that Egypt wasn't a direct influence in these things, but I think that there were other cultures, the Picts and that sort of thing, that would have had... I traipsed through fucking 5,000-year-old ruins across the country of England and Ireland that were clearly initiatory and death and rebirth related. The Egyptians were certainly the masters of it, but they weren't all...
Buckland's version of the Gardner story was that Gardner traveled the world studying religio magic, and when he retired, he found the New Forest witches, and that's what started that leg of his journey. He could not have added the stuff that he found along the way.
Oh, you're talking about directly on Gardner. I thought you were talking about historic witchcraft.
Well, no, that was my thing.
Of course, Gardner was influenced by the Egyptians. Everyone was in the period of the Victorian. What are you talking about?
So why be all staunch traditional about it? It's just it's eclectic. Gardner's original craft was eclectic. He borrowed from all kinds of, half of the meditation techniques are fucking Eastern. It's and there's nothing wrong with that. He borrowed from Crowley. Crowley wrote stuff.
I think that Philip Heselton is showing that there was a New Forest coven that he did discover. These people have been traced, so there is a certain amount that you have to take on faith. But here's the thing: regardless of whether that's accurate or not, what we can say with absolute fact is that what the Anglo-Saxon called witchcraft was not brujeria. I don't think I need to jump through a whole lot of academic hoops to make that point.
I'll step back.
So I'm going to make a little comment about this with the whole umbrella of witchcraft thing, to where witchcraft is used in this, that, and the other, and all that other shit that is, used in. One thing I will say, and it's something to maybe just take into account or into thought. When it comes to that particular word, is it used as an umbrella? Of course it is.
Well, so's voodoo.
But here's the thing.
And they don't allow that.
You're missing. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. The word witchcraft is used, at least in my own experience, a lot when it comes to American culture and the American understanding of that. Because let me tell you something, when you go outside of this country, You don't. It's like that word is not what you hear.
A lot of them would be offended to be called that.
But that's what I'm saying. Is that like there is
well,
an
according
idea
to
in the mind.
according to Roid Rage and Gaptooth, the artist formerly known as Gaptooth, they were isn't he from Nicaragua, Honduras, or Venezuela, or whatever one of those little third world cesspit countries? But anyway, the point is, he argued that South American thing was witchcraft. If I were to go to that South American country, is that the word they would use? Would they say witchcraft to me? Because I don't think so. Because most of them would be offended. It gets translated into English, but here's the thing.
But that's an American filter.
Like if I were to suddenly say, like let's say I was practicing Asatru, and I suddenly say, you know what this is? You can call this Norse voodoo. How many people would let me get away with that? But they can do that to witchcraft every 5 fucking minutes. They can use that word to mean every goddamn thing there is. But if I suddenly said, I'm practicing Norse voodoo, or I'm practicing Tai Chi voodoo, or, whatever the fuck, Siberian voodoo.
But that's the point.
They would eviscerate me, and rightfully so.
But that's the point, is that like that word... That word
that's why
is something that people, they allow to become an umbrella for something
because
else that it's not.
All these fucking fat park pagans. Now look, there's two separate arguments going on here. No, there's two separate arguments going on here, and this is where sort of the confusion lies, is because I think you're conflating the two arguments, Michael. Mm-hmm. And that one is witchcraft in its origins a specifically British thing, before I'm talking about whatever the Anglo-Saxons were calling it. Yes. Now, is it the thing that evolved into what Gardner practiced? Well, that's a whole other discussion. But don't conflate those, because my main discussion was not about whether Gardner's practices were some direct result of what the Anglo-Saxons called Wicca and Witche, because I don't fucking know. Do I think? Well, yeah, I do think Gardner tapped into European folklore, but I think so did Gemma Gary. And I know some initiates will probably hate me for saying that, but I see witchcraft as, and it exists on multiple levels too. I see witchcraft as this giant window, and it has many panes of glass. Some of them are clear, some of them are more opaque, some of them are tinted, some of them are rippled. And I don't, so some give clearer pictures while others give less of a clear picture. And those panes of glass represent everything from the archetypal witch of feminine power, like the Witch of Endor or Circe. It includes Gardner's witchcraft. It includes whatever the Anglo-Saxons were calling witcha. It includes the kitchen witch. It includes Margaret Hamilton on her broom. Every one of those panes of glass, it includes, the 1790, the 1897, I don't know, 17, the fucking numbered witches, they got 1734, I can never get it right. Whatever, those people. The Cochranites, Sarah Junkie Lawless and her belladonna butter. All those different panes of glass. And I don't think anybody sees through all of them. Not the initiates, not the belladonna butters, none of them.
I could not agree
However,
more.
And on some level,
I could
yes.
not agree more.
On some level, one of those panes of glass will be what the colonists did to, Gaptooth South American country, wherever he's from, and, pointed a gun at that person and said, stop practicing witchcraft. Well, that's part of the story of the witch, too. And in the same token, so is voodoo. Because when you look through the lens of voodoo, there are people that will include zombies in a movie.
You will never hear a voodooisant describe themselves or call themselves a witch. You will never hear that. Ever.
No, that isn't what I said. Listen to it. If you're going to quote me, can you get what I actually say? There's nothing more frustrating than having one's word translated.
Did I?
I'm saying, like there is a window of the word witch, over here, a million miles from the word witch, that has nothing to do with the word witch, because I have to over-clarify, There is a window for the
perception.
word voodoo. Like there are many panes of that word because of culture and how people, everyday people, see the word voodoo. If you say voodoo to one person, they think zombies crawling down the street. If you say voodoo to another person, they think, some dark ritual. So a voodoo zon, it's a religion. There are certain words in our culture that have evolved to have a multitude of meanings, and there's nothing we can do about it. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about the history of a word, voodoo comes from a particular fawn word. It has a trail, it has a history, it has an etymology. Same with witch.
Absolutely.
But you have to separate those discussions. I feel like if you talk about the fawn word voodoo and where it comes from, that doesn't invalidate the fact that there are millions of Americans who think of voodoo and think of an old Bela Lugosi movie.
But you just said it. You just made a very, very pointed argument there. You did. And when you said millions of Americans who say this, and I will go on record just so as you know, and say this yet again, like I've said 1,000 times. When it comes to that, when it comes to like the word witch, or it comes to the word voodooism, voodoo.
Well, they're misinterpreted in other countries too. What are you talking about?
But here's the thing. In this country...
It's not just this country, though.
Not just, but in this country, everybody they choose to identify as I am this, and I am this, and I am this. When that's not how it works. And as an initiate,
I don't think
and I both know.
I don't think there's Americans identifying as voodoo, as
bullshit.
Wait a minute. What American is identifying as a zombie crawling down the street?
I'm not talking about a zombie.
But that was what I was saying.
I'm talking about a voodooism.
I don't think you're hearing me then. I'm saying...
Oh, no, I'm hearing
it isn't
you
just
fine.
I'm not talking about just the people practicing witchcraft. I'm talking about the people's definition of the word. How is that being missed? I don't know how that's not being heard. Like in other words...
But we're talking about the same thing.
There are people, when you say the word witch, it has a million meanings to a million people, not just in America, all over, wherever the word...
Same as with voodoo.
Right. So at some point, you have to be able to say, well, okay, there's all the panes of glass, but what's the actual origin here? We may not know what... And there are people, by the way, I met a scholar who said he studied voodoo and said that the voodoo of 100 years ago in Haiti is very different than the voodoo now. And I've heard that, so I don't know how true that is. But the point is, we still have to go back in time and say, what was it then and what is the origins? Well, we don't know what the Anglo-Saxons referred to as witche, but here's what we do know. It wasn't what they're practicing in South America. That's a fact. It wasn't. How?
It wasn't.
It
wasn't what they.
Let me ask. Okay, let me ask.
So let me
question.
tell you.
Columbian Exchange, 1492. How could a fucking religion before the Columbian Exchange, whatever they were referring to in England as Wicca and Witche, possibly what they were doing in South America? Unless
riddle me this: Are any of these people like manipulating roots and stones or bones and candles on a space to make
magic.
change? Yeah.
But magic, but I would argue...
The religion is separate from the magic in a lot of ways.
I think what you're getting at is the idea that is out there now, and the anthropologists are certainly responsible for this because they use the term witch to refer to baneful magic anywhere in the world. So once witchcraft became positivized, now witchcraft became an umbrella word for magic anywhere in the world in an anthropological sense, and that's the fault of the anthropologist. However, and Levi makes this point incredibly well, and I'm going to invoke Levi Rowland in this, because here's what's different.
You can have him on.
Magic. But that universal thing that bonds what Sen Moise here does, and you do, and what I do, and what Marta does, it's not witch, it's magic. That's the thread.
Good point.
Because what made witches persecuted the way that they were, the reason that they were burned, for example, in continental Europe, and why they were hanged in England. They were hanged in England because it wasn't considered equal to heresy. So they didn't quite take it as badly as they did in the Continental, which declared it heresy. Now, what is heresy? Heresy is that religious rebellion. What would magic have to do with that? Nothing. They weren't the primary purpose for the persecution of witches. Yes, a lot had to do with the fear of magic, because magic scared people. But there was something that scared people more than magic, and that was evil spirits and devils, and particularly Satan. The main reason they persecuted witches was diabolism. They were convicted of heresy and diabolism. And not for anything, they would apply that to voodoo too, and they would say,
one is not less greater than the other.
I understand that, but witchcraft is not the thread that binds the four people at this table together.
Not.
It's magic.
Of course it is.
Magic is the common thing when you're saying roots and bones.
Well, one other common thing that I was just thinking about, everybody in this room, except for Marta, is male. And that was always the premise, that it was the Christian church trying to take away the power of women. And that was the witch persecution.
Well, I think that's a big part of it.
You can never take away the
I think
power
there's a
of
big
women.
part of it. I
Understand
actually
that.
wrote a college thesis paper about the persecution of women as witches. However, you also have to bear in mind, again, it was a gendered word. And the word we're remembering isn't the one for the women.
Yeah.
It's the one for the men. The word they're using to describe this religion, Wicca, comes from the word witcha, which meant not generic, non-gendered witch, but male witch.
So you're not buying that it was an Anglo-Saxon word that meant wise? That was always
I don't
bullshit.
think we know.
No, it was bullshit. That was bullshit, but that was what they taught me when I was a kid, and that's bullshit.
The etymology arguments of this word have so debated and hotly contested that when you actually go into what is accepted, there's very little.
Yeah.
Like the only thing Oxford accepts, they say that beyond Wicca and Witche, it's all mysterious and nobody knows, and they think it means sorcery. Sorcery and divination. That's all they got. That's all Oxford, the definitive Jesus Christ of etymology and linguistics is the Oxford people. I don't always agree with them. I don't agree with their take on warlock. And Oxford is often, along with the other dictionaries, decades behind actual scholarly research into words. So until all the scholars get together and say, well, it's really this, Oxford always comes along later. But the fact remains, we don't know what the word meant to the Anglo-Saxons.
I want to talk about that warlock word in a minute. We're gonna take a short break. I got to pay some bills, and I want to talk about warlock because you got a lot to say.
Expressions on the faces of the starting millions. The power of the plan, the fuel that drives the clan. He's the motive and the conscience of the murderer. He's a preacher on TV, the false sincerity, the formula that's written by the big computers and nuclear bombs. The kids with no moms and a pitfall that he's inside me. Yeah, we've got the American Jesus. See him on the interstate. We've got
priesthoods. It was not.
The discussion has continued. You guys missed some epic stuff, so I had to cut them off, hoping that they'll continue their argument after we come back.
We're not really arguing. The
discussion.
We agree on most things.
Yes, but it's
my point is, you'd never. I mean, look at the way Pantheacon treated Utu, Witch Doctor Utu. But yet they had Katrina Rasbold representing all these other things. But I would never get away with saying I'm practicing Norse voodoo. I would never get away with saying I'm practicing Celtic voodoo.
Yeah.
I would never get away with saying I'm doing Strega Candomblé. I would never get away with saying I'm doing Siberian Mayombe. I wouldn't get away with it.
Let's wait for Moise to get back.
But they can call witchcraft everything they want.
I want you guys to have this discussion on there. Hoodoo's out having a cigarette and yelling from the backyard at my neighbors.
Why is it okay when they do it to us?
You're listening to Widdershins Radio at our new broadcast time Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
It's the same broadcast time.
Same broadcast time, but I'm still saying it. We're
Any questions on the app yet?
There's been a lot going on in the chat room. They called you the I gotta figure it. The Wendy Williams of NOLA. I don't.
What's the Wendy Williams of NOLA?
You.
Why not? I don't have her tits.
I don't know, but they don't know that. Maybe you do. At any rate, you listen to Widdershins Radio on our new broadcast time. We're going to be here on Wednesdays, same time as usual. As you know, I teach witchcraft for a living, and I got a new year-and-a-day course starting March 1st. I have 4 year-and-a-day courses going at the same time, and when one finishes, the other begins. So, check my YouTube
voodoo
channel.
Witchcraft?
No, it's not voodoo witchcraft.
What is it, motherfucker?
Witchcraft. It is witchcraft under the.
Is it Santeria Mayombe?
No.
Nordic.
It is classical witchcraft with a sprinkling of strega and chaos magic on the top, and maybe a little bit of ceremonial
I don't
magic.
do a little
here.
mix and mingle, and I'm just saying.
Okay,
they do things to our word that they don't get away with.
Let me do my plugs here. I got to pay some bills. So, my new class starting March 1st. You can contact me at witchschool@gmail.com. It's $35 a month for a year and a day. Got 4 of them going on, so I'm kind of in a teaching frenzy right now. Contact me at witchschool@gmail.com, which is, of course, WITCHSKEWL @gmail.com, or you can rush right over to gumroad.com/witchschool. And if you don't want to wait, you want to binge watch a fucking year-and-a-day course, my old year-and-a-day course is up there at a reduced price. You can just download that fucking thing and sit there and watch it all night. Fucking people do that. I don't understand it, but some kids are in a hurry. At any rate, I got some contractual obligations to fulfill right now. Join in the magic. Hex Fest is coming. Tales of the magic of the Crescent City of New Orleans stretch back over the centuries. It's an enigmatic place where voodoo, hoodoo, witchcraft, like we just talked about all this shit, witchcraft, and even Christianity blend at the crossroads of spiritual power. On August 7th to the 9th, 2020, Brian Kane, Christian Day, and the Witches of New Orleans present Hex Fest, a weekend of witchery held in the heart of the historic French Quarter, right down the street from our house. The conference opens with a riverboat ritual, which is fucking epic. We've only done it once, but it was fucking epic. Riverboat ritual and dinner held on an authentic steamboat on the Mississippi River, not the anti-witch one, but the other one. Followed by 2 full days of workshops, drumming, and ritual at the Bourbon Orleans Hotel, a venue riddled with a history of hauntings. And I'm sure, the Catholics will probably be there protesting too this year, like they always are. Hexfest has gathered witches, root workers, voodoo priests, and other magical teachers from within New Orleans and around the world to offer their time-honored wisdom. Between workshops, attendees will love the magical shopping in our on-site vending hall, where you can purchase powerful ritual tools, signed books, exquisite jewelry, and spellcrafts made by true practitioners. Presenters for the 2020 Hex Fest hail from across the spectrum of witchcraft and magic, and include Brian Kane, Christian Day, Austin Shippey, Carrie Ewers, Christine Steffens, The Dragon Ritual Drummers, Elohim Lafar, Ellie Barnes, Ellen Everett Hopman, Fiona Horn, Gemma Gary, Jason Gemma Gary.
Gemma.
Oh, I said it right then.
It's Gemma.
It is Gemma. Okay. God. Jason Mankey, Jason Miller, Kenya Koviak. I'm finally going to meet Kenya Koviak. Love her. Christopher Hughes, Lady Rhea, Leanne Maramar, Levi Rowland, Lilith Dorsey, Michael Carell. He's going to be there. Mimi Eubanks, Sandra Maria Wright, Mariah Wright, Senna Elias, and Witch Doctor Utu. Whether you're a beginner or an advanced practitioner, Hexfest will help you to discover the secrets of witchcraft and expand your mastery of the magical arts. And thank you for fixing that slight typo. It fucked me up every time I said that. Moise, you have a thing coming up before that. St. John's.
Congrats on going to college. Now the fun begins with setting up your dorm. Make it yours. Bed Bath & Beyond makes it easy. Sign up now for our college savings pass. Get 20% off your entire purchase every time you shop through September 30th. Only at Bed Bath & Beyond.
At JCPenney's Memorial Day sale, sizzling deals are on with store-wide doorbusters all weekend. Or bring home savings up to 50% during our Memorial Day home sale. Save even more with your coupon. And for all former and active military personnel, enjoy an extra 10% off in-store. Just show a valid military or VA ID at checkout. Shopping is back. JCPenney. Coupon valid on select styles through 5/30. Some exclusions apply. Doorbusters valid 5/26 through 5/30 and excluded from coupons. See store or jcp.com for details.
Who was it?
I have several things.
What's the next thing coming up that we were going to go to?
Who calls you San Mosaic?
Candelo does, but he always mispronounces
it.
San Mosaic.
Do
you know the way to San Mosaic?
Do you know I'm going to back you across the face in a minute here?
So you want to talk about your thing?
So February 5th through the 10th, I will be at Botanica Abre Caminos in Cleveland, Ohio. And then the last weekend of March, I will be at the Conjure Shop in Omaha, Nebraska. And then the first weekend in April, I'm going to be batting Christian's head across his face because he'd be funky.
Do you know the way?
And then, I hate you.
My kid even
but yeah, so like I'm gonna be around, so y'all keep your head up.
You have an event coming up though.
I do. Yes, St. John's Eve weekend, which is going to be June the 19th through the 21st here in New Orleans, which is going to be a day of classes, a day of ritual. And then there's going to be like a little masquerade ball that's going on right here at the Hotel Provincial. If you're looking for tickets, you can get them at St. John's Eve Weekend.com.
Aren't you going to tell them who's there?
There's going to be a lot of people there.
We're going to be there.
That
me and Marta
exactly, and
no, not presenting, but we're going to be there.
Uncle Birch and Marta are going to be there, and that's I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you, Christian. I swear to God. There's going to be a lot of good people there. It's going to be good.
Oh, if you could only see.
They're threatening to kill Christians. God, that's what they always say about us.
I do it every other day.
So who else is going to be there?
Lots of good people's going to be there.
I just got that.
To piss out you. The end.
So it's going to be a full day of workshops, and then the next day is going to be
a full day. It's going to be a full day of workshops.
Hateful.
The next day, the next day is going to be. There's going to be various ceremonies that's going on. There's going to be a special tour that's going on, and then there's going to be a party that's going on. I hate you. There's going to be a special party that's going on that evening. So stjohnsweekendofconjure.com. Go there to get your tickets, and it's going to be wonderful. Bitch, I will
it sounds epic.
So, what exactly is St. John's Weekend?
St. John's weekend is like in New Orleans is a very, very big deal because it goes to that weekend, which typically is June 23rd, is for St. John the Baptist. St. John the Baptist in the Voodoo, his name is really. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I was distracted by somebody. Anyway.
Go ahead.
It's a very, very potent weekend when it comes to like change, and it comes to not only bringing in what should be coming, but what it also refers to is that bringing in blessings and actually a change for the better for the individual that's involved.
And does it always coincide with solstice? It's always kind of that weekend.
It is the 23rd, like St. John's Day is the 23rd,
right. Okay.
June 23rd of every single year.
Okay.
So it's the weekend that is the closest to it.
Right.
And so I definitely encourage folks to go look at the website. St. John's Weekend.
I'd be going, except I'm going to be in Egypt.
.com. I don't get.
You're going.
You're so messy.
Oh, wait.
No. Shut
Nothing.
up. I mean, in Cleveland,
really?
Wasn't
I
there
swear
an
to God,
Egypt?
you know what? You know what?
I think it's in Georgia.
Now you owe me. Now you
know the way to San Jose.
Anyway,
speaking of San Jose, this is the last year.
what was that?
This is the last while San Jose and my
Moise
San Jose. The way to San Jose. No, so San Moise in his wonderful festival that he hosts with Star Casas, and there's going to be some wonderful people there, and also Hex Fest that Brian and I host are awesome festivals that will be going on for many years to come because we have great content at both festivals and people can learn a lot. But this is the last year of PantheaCon.
Yep.
Oh.
Imagine.
I won't miss it.
We used to live like 40 minutes away.
We used to be kind of obligated to go. It was kind of, we were in a small pond. And
Rachel has a question about will Pickles be there at the
Pickles. We love Pickles.
Pickles is definitely the star of everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was hoping you were going to bring him tonight.
Pickles,
I should have told you.
You should have.
Yeah. Well, he's just so you know, you can bring him whenever you want.
Yeah.
Well, go.
Yeah.
Thank you, because
Seriously.
I will.
Okay.
And I'll leave him.
As he would love it.
Yeah, as he needs a friend.
Pickles will definitely be around because Pickles is kind of like the master of ceremonies. So, if he gives it a blessing, then we're good to go. If you don't, then I don't know what can help you.
Guard your drinks if Mr. Pickles is there.
Oh my God.
That's all I'm saying.
Pickles totally took a big swig of my drink last time he was
Pickles
here.
went for your drink. He went for my beer.
And it was a brand new drink, so it's just like...
And she must have too. It's like, she wasn't going to drink it because of the dog spit, but then she did.
I did.
She's a dirty bitch. She's a dirty bitch. That's what I like about her,
Yeah, because Pickles just don't care. He's like, I'm going to do me, and that's it.
Yeah.
And guess what? So, Pickles will be around.
So what are some of the classes you're doing at St. John's?
Actually, I will tell you that I'm actually teaching a class about spiritual reading. I'm teaching a class. Christian. I am teaching a class on the spiritual side of the tarot. In other words, how to read the cards, which is a little bit of a different way that people typically learn to read the card. If you put those spoons in your hand one more time, Jesus Lord, it's going to be a problem. So anyway, I'm teaching a class on the spiritual side of the tarot, which basically shows you a whole different way to read the cards, at least like the tarot cards. And what I do incorporate into that so people understand is, because I read the tarot, I read playing cards, I read chamalongos, and I read cowrie shells. Mm-hmm. And so all of those things are tools. Shut the hell up.
And what was the thing before cowrie
shells? Yes, chimichangas. That's what those are. Like I'm going to throw fried burritos up in the air and see how
I didn't hear you. I heard chimichangas and cowrie shells.
Swear to God. But anyway, this is about like learning how to read cards in a different way than perhaps you knew how to read before. Mm-hmm. And this is the spiritual side of that, which is not just like what like the individual card has to say, but what the interpretation of the card is. Which is there's about 437,000 different ways to interpret one card, depending upon the reading, because every single person and every single circumstance is different depending upon what's going on at the time. So I will be doing that class there, and there'll be several other wonderful, amazing classes that's going on at the same time.
Like who?
You're going to plug those? Yeah, you got to tell us.
I'm actually, I forgot. What's Mama start teaching? Anything? Wait,
no, she is. She's teaching.
Why can't I post?
So Mama Star is teaching a class. Papa Hector is teaching a class. Mambo Sandy is teaching a class.
And what was it?
Sancisa Bruja Lewis is teaching a class as well.
Yeah.
And you can go to St. John's weekendofconjure.com to find out who's teaching what class, but it is something to definitely come in on.
Yeah, we've had Sancista.
Seems like you skipped somebody.
Orion Foxwood is also teaching a class.
I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe you got to plug everybody that's going to be there.
Absolutely.
We're going to be there, and since we're going to pay for a ticket, so we'll be there. His class too.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Exactly, and it's going to be amazing. And I can only say, just be there, and then
why can't I post to your chat?
Get what needs to be gotten, and it's going to be great.
I can't post.
So they're going to let Pickles into the.
Are you signed in?
I forgot what the name of
Pickles can go wherever Pickles wants to go. Nobody will say no to him.
Okay.
Yeah, Pickles pretty.
Because if I'm bringing Pickles in, they won't say no to me.
Okay.
So I'm like, Pickles is coming. The end.
Yeah. I wish our dog would fit in a bag or something, but he doesn't. Oh.
Yeah, but this we have this huge dog. Look, he just kind of tucks himself away.
I was about to say, he don't really
there's no button to say.
It has to be like a really big bag.
Well, not that I can even carry him.
Well, no, then there's that, because he's like, 80 pounds? I mean, it's like, damn.
He's like 75,
Big,
close.
yeah,
very big.
But our dog playing with Mr. Pickles, the little pug, is really one of the funniest things you ever fucking would have seen in your life.
Cute.
Yeah, cute as fuck. Man, so we gotta just have you guys on every fucking show. This has been epic, and we don't have to work very hard. Just let you roll.
We should just make a weekly.
They're all, we were sitting here. It's like, they're going, so what are we gonna talk about tonight? It's like, that's not a fucking problem. We're just gonna open the fucking mic, and the show will fucking happen. Wittershins has never been overly planning ahead of time, and usually when we schedule a guest, it'll be like the day before or some shit. Yeah. Epic.
We're gonna have. We need to have Jason Mankey soon, right?
Yes, we were gonna have Jason Mankey before, but then Marta reminded me. Oh well, next Tuesday's Christmas Eve, and then the Tuesday after that's New Year's Eve.
He's awesome. He's one of my favorite witches.
I like his shirt. Marta got me the bro witch shirt.
We're in the same area for a while because he's in the Bay Area. We're the Bay Area.
He's one of the few people that go to PantheaCon. I would add.
Yeah.
Someone was on the chat going, "I bet some of the PantheaCon people wouldn't." I'm like, well. I'd have him, but most of them.
And I always wondered, I don't know what he's doing, but everybody likes him.
Well, because he lives near there. What's he going to, you know what I mean? If you live down the street.
No, I mean, you like him, and,
But then back there's so many people that like Jason Mankey that hated our fucking guts. We didn't know if he'd like us. And then we met him at Hexfest.
Yeah, but
Hexfest brings people together.
No, he started out, I wouldn't say he was a hater, per se. But like when Reed Wildermuth was bashing me for something or another, comparing me to David Duke or something, when Jason said something like, well, I don't really like him, just from the public, how I rub people the wrong way. And I remember reaching out and going, I get you might not like me, and that's fair. I said, but, don't lend your name to what this guy is doing. And of course, Reed ended up ripping him to shreds. That guy's a real asshole. But, Jason and I just really hit it off. And he's
we did too.
I think he's a very fair person. And he really likes to see the whole of somebody as opposed to the gossip. I mean, look, it's no secret I rub people the wrong way, sometimes on purpose. But a lot of the stuff, and the same is true of you. You know what I mean? They make things up.
Yeah.
They make things up about San Luis. They make things up about everybody. When you become in the public eye, but you're always going to have that. It's just how it is.
But I think that's actually
it makes you money.
I take that as a compliment.
Well, it makes you money. You should.
Do you guys know Phil Hine?
No.
Phil Hine is, if you ever want to know anything about chaos magic, he's the best one to read and the easiest to understand. And Phil Hine did this thing one time. He had a problem with gossip. People always gossiping about him. So he was going to create a servitor to stop gossip. But then he had an awakening. And he realized that gossip is part of a mage's power.
It is.
People attributing crazy stories, large powers, satanic rituals to you, just talking about you, of those, being ignored.
Every one of those arrows they fire at you is fucking dipped in gold, and I never got that more than when Sandra a few months back posted, what's your favorite festivals and this and that, and Z Budapest was still on her friends list, God. And she went on there. Oh my God. There is a sausage fest there in New Orleans, and his name is Christian Daly. She got my name wrong.
She got a problem with sausage.
And she's like, and he send shades in the night, and they burn like hot flames. But I'm a witch, and I know how to chase them away. Melissa Mayhem gets on there, and she's like, validated. When you've got somebody as iconic as Z Budapest thinking you're burning her crotch in the middle of the night, or whatever. Honey, that's venereal disease. But whatever. The point is, that kind of shit is fucking great.
Yeah.
It makes you money. It makes you power. It makes you converts. It brings people, because everybody wants to see what all the fuss is about.
Well, like when me and Marta, we went quiet to do the shit that it took to move to New Orleans. Some of the fucking rumors that came back to us that people were talking about it, like, we're going to get a divorce, something happened to our kid, all this fucking... People fucking talk about you.
Absolutely.
And it's that's more power than being ignored.
And you're 1,000% right.
Let them say whatever they want to say.
And it's like, it's like one of the things that I love to perpetuate is that haters are our biggest fans.
Absolutely.
And guess what? You know what they're going to do? They're going to continue to perpetuate us.
Well, you guys...
You can say, you can talk all the shit that you want, but you know what you're going to do?
Look at Howard Stern.
Is that, exactly.
Yeah.
All you're going to do is you're going to make more people look for you. And more people like, who is such and such, and what do they do?
You guys got to be careful going for that kind of. I remember go to YouTube and find when Howard Stern's, Robin Quivers, she went on the Tonight Show, and Linda Ron, and I love Linda Ronstadt, but she was on there and she starts riding Robin Quivers like she was a poor put upon black woman, allowing a white man to use her and all this other stuff, and you don't know, he's just using him, and Linda Ronstadt's giving her all these smarmy smiles and all this, and Robin didn't quite know how to react, so she's super pissed. Well, then you get Howard there on Monday, and him and Robin are taking this on, and of course you find out Linda Ronstadt performed in South Africa during apartheid and never bothered to apologize and refused to when reporters asked her to apologize. Yet she's calling out this black woman for who she chooses to be on the radio with when, she's upholding apartheid. You never go for people like that. Because they'll always find, if there's anything true of us, people, whether it's San Luis, whether it's you, whether it's me, people bring us the dirt.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? They bring us to dirt. So it's not like we don't have it. We might choose not to use it most of the time. But never think we aren't sitting on all these little secrets of where the bodies are buried. So you just never know where, there's Howard Stern.
Where to put the shovel.
Whipping out the shit on Linda Ron's fat. And you just never know when we might dig up one of the bodies. I'm just saying, proceed
You guys
with
know
caution.
fairy witchcraft. Storm and Devon. And,
Do I know fairy?
Yeah, fairy witchcraft.
I don't know nothing about the fairy.
But you know of them.
I know of them.
I don't know of them.
Storm, Fairy Wolf, Devon.
I know of them. But
I think even Matt Arn's
I
fairy.
don't know her.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't. Remember Mariah Carey? I don't know her.
At any rate, so fairy witchcraft.
I don't know that.
Even most of the fairy witchcraft people that I know don't even really understand their own tradition.
That I know.
It's a combination of Huna, is Italian, Hawaiian magic, Strega, Italian magic, and Welsh bardic magic is the origins. But the Huna, they say,
fairies.
where attention goes, energy flows. And that's the wisest thing I ever heard any old fucking indigenous people ever say, man. It's just like, fucking keep attention on you, man. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's fucking hate. Doesn't matter if it's love. Fucking keep talking.
I don't know.
When you were out of the room, I was talking about all the rumors that started when we went quiet. People talking all this stuff.
Really?
It was like people thinking we were getting divorced. And something happened to our kid.
My family
maybe we went
members
bankrupt.
were like,
Wait a minute. Fairy said this about you?
No. But I was just saying in the fairy tradition, the idea of where attention goes, energy
ones?
flows.
There's like FERI and then there's
FAERI.
Well, that's kind of the ignorance within their tradition. It is, and in case you all are out there, it's FERI. I know more about the fairy tradition than most fairy initiates I've ever fucking met. It's FERI. Victor Anderson, Corey Anderson, and Gwydion Pentherwin is where the tradition comes from.
I thought they were radical fairies. Like we're in
Well, there's the radical fairy is a different thing, but but I think they're just FAIRY. There's so many fucking ways to spell fairy.
I don't know them.
It's confusing.
I saw one once. I thought it was a pug.
A what?
You gay guys don't know any fairies, really? Really?
First of all,
they're not listening.
In New Orleans, everybody is a fairy, but it's not
the kind of fairies I know are called the unseelie court.
Yeah, different kind of fairy. I mean, ultimately, in the fairy tradition, the fairies they're referring to are Hawaiian spirits.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Most of those people need to get laid.
Ah, shit. We're getting up there. You guys got some closing thoughts?
Yeah, have a good night.
Do you have a closing thought, Christian?
Yeah, have a good night.
Okay, so since he's already fucking done with his little closing thought, I'll give you all this. No matter what tradition that you're in, no matter what it is that you do, I will tell you each and every time, make sure that you always, always, always go to your ancestors first, because they are the foundation on everything in which you stand. And they actually move in whatever it is tradition that you move into. And so if you have that foundation of the ancestors, then what you have is something firm to stand on. And if you have something firm to stand on, it doesn't matter how strong the storm it is, but you'll always make sure that you stand strong in that.
That's
and
why.
In that, what you do is you move forward. Please understand that. And please never, never, never forsake the foundation that has been laid before you.
Stand on two strong sticks.
Christian Day, Moise Pt2. Thank you for gracing our household and our radio show. It's been fucking epic. And we'll probably listen to this later tonight and have a few drinks, a few laughs. But I've said it before. It's like usually when we have Christian on the show, we're just kind of listening to him talk, and we jump in here and there. And then we had Moise on the show. I remember saying it the first day. I said, we could just listen to you all day. Just keep going.
That's why
I don't think we said
finally
much.
Understood how to pronounce your name, because I've heard.
Well, because we asked him.
Yeah, we asked him.
How did you say? Muzi?
No, we asked him before we said it.
Like, Moise or whatever.
No.
I knew Candelo was fucking it up. I knew Candelo was fucking it up.
His was Moise.
We know he was.
I was on Candelo's
the
show
way
for like
to
2
say
years,
Moise.
and he always fucked it up. I was his co-host.
Yeah.
And,
as soon as you said Moise, I was like, okay, got it.
wait, and Candelo's going to be at your event.
He will be.
You didn't even mention that. Yes, Candelo.
What about
Candelo Cambisa will be at the event.
Oh,
in
Candelo
June.
will be there.
Yeah.
Yes, he will be there in June. And so, again, St. John's Weekend of Conjure.com. You can go and get tickets.
All right, y'all. Till next time, aim high and throw hard. Widdershins, y'all. Well, all right, y'all. So, we have one more broadcast in tonight's marathon. It's about a 3-hour broadcast, so we're going to have to restart. So if you've been here all night, well, you know what to do. But if you're listening to the archives, just, scroll up or scroll down to, part 3. If you're listening live, just hit refresh on the page a couple times. Give me a few seconds to type, and we'll be back with the final episode of the marathon of Moise on Widdershins. Thank you for joining us.